Hello everyone, this is Season of 992 and today we're back for another brand new video and I imagine not many people were expecting to see this Nasher the night, and if I'm honest with you, I wasn't really expecting to be making this video for at least a little bit longer, as I have been sort of on the outskirts regarding the constant speculations, the constant ramblings and the constant rumours regarding the next manager of this football club. And I've sat here and said to you, I didn't want to get involved in the clickbait. I don't want to get involved in the rumours. It's awkward, isn't it? But what I will say is I'm not just here to clickbait you because there is an ounce of credibility regarding this, and there is something at least to sink our teeth into and start to glance over and start to imagine, and that's what this conversation in this channel is all about. It's me and thee talking about everything regarding this club. And just over a year ago, in fact more than that, we sat and looked at the three leading candidates for the managerial position at that point, which was later confirmed by the club, of having conversations and interviews and callbacks, whatever you want to say. That was none other than Lampard, that was Kevin Muscat, and that was Philippe Clement. And people might argue and had to pick the wrong one of that, but again, those were three names talked about right here on this channel. It was three names that was spoken to regarding the club, and today we kickstart the managerial search and kickstart the rumours with one that is apparently not only just a rumour, that it's getting reported over in Spain as almost a certainty to go ahead and happen, and for this man to be the next man to pull on the Brown Brogues. But again, the key word in that sentence is might be, because it's football, anything can happen, and obviously this is Rangers Football Club. It can change so quickly, it could fall apart when it comes to conversations, it could end up changing their mind. Another club could be, this could be agent shenanigans for this man, who apparently has a lot of offers from Syria and Saudi Arabia. It could be a wee bit of funny buggers to fire this out there saying he's considering it, so somebody ups their bid and he goes in another direction. That happens in football, and there's so much we aren't privy to. But again, this is this mountain, there is the smoke, so let's go ahead to try and dive into it, instead of going through the vicious cycle of just chasing our tail of whether this rumour is true. As always, just like for the player profiles, let's go ahead and dive into this one and see if it should be. So let's go ahead and dive in to the managerial profile and talk about Davide Ancelotti, who I'm going to be honest, for the rest of today's video, just to make it a bit easier on the old tonsils, I'm going to go ahead and call him Big Davy. And Big Davy, if he does come up the road to Rangers, would actually be younger than some of our players, as he is just 35 years old. And regarding managerial experience, where's he been, what's he done, what other teams has he managed? It's going to be a pretty short section of the video because he's never managed anywhere. And look, I've been doing this a long time. I know there will be a lot of people that didn't live chronically online, that are like myself, that didn't go on Twitter all the time or spend all their day on it these days. So they've maybe not heard this news. Maybe they're working a night shift. Maybe they've just finished the back shift or something. They've came on, they've seen this video, they're saying, what the hell is this? They've heard the second name, they've started to get excited, and then I've slapped you down by telling you the next possible manager of this football club has absolutely zero experience of being a manager. And that might feel like a slap in the clapper bag, and there will be people that could pick up a 50 pence with the arse cheeks, because that right there is terrifying. When we want to try and turn the corner, there are people in their minds building what this summer's going to be in the recruitment and the takeover. They've already plotted the journey, and maybe this experience gamble isn't anywhere near a part of that vision. But as I do try and keep things pretty balanced right here on the channel, I guess the best clapback I can say, and the way I can try and counter those fears and worries that you may possibly have right now, is just simply mentioning the name of Steven Gerrard, who there is a lot of people out there within the fan base that's keeping their fingers crossed for Stevie G to come back up the road to finish what he started. But again, Gerrard is a perfect little reminder and a little statement of what we did with him. Now that was a true inexperienced gamble, and I guess on paper, if you just chuck Gerrard's name in there with Davide, it sounds like it's the exact freaking same gamble that we made back then. But again, we tried to go a wee bit deeper right here on the channel. If you do give me over the next couple of minutes, I'll try and show why, despite having no managerial experience, it's actually no anywhere near the same level or of a gamble that we took on Gerrard. Because if you think back to before Rangers announced Steven Gerrard, he spent about, what, a year in the under-21s, under-17s at Liverpool teaching the kids troops. He wasn't a part of the first team, he wasn't doing this, he wasn't taking training sessions, he was working with the kids and the unders for about a year. Then we took the massive gamble on bringing him up the road, and some people say he was a success, some people, I'm not really want to get into it. I'm just looking at that 1 year of experience, not even working with the first team. Davide, however, has actually got 9 years of experience working under one of the greatest managers of all time at various different clubs, working with the first team. So they're both experienced on the surface, but when you actually go ahead and look at it, who's actually been there week in, week out with experience under their belt, making connections, making a network, and obviously having that type of experience? I'd actually argue Davide is a hell of a lot more experienced than maybe the last 3 or the last 4 managers we've went ahead and employed. And let's dive a wee bit more into that experience then, the 9 years that we're talking about since 2016 when he started working with first teams, working at the likes of fitness level, then building his way up to being an assistant under his dad. He's worked at the likes of Bayern Munich, he's worked at Napoli, he's worked at Everton, and he's worked at a team known as Real Madrid for the last 5 years that have actually done no too bad when it comes to the old football. But again, being Rangers fans, we have been previously scarred by the tacticians, the guys in the background, the guys that people talk up, because honestly, from what I've been able to find, this man does get a hell of a lot of credit from the likes of Spanish media, from the likes of players that's played under him. There's a really good interview regarding our sort of football, if you want, in terms of Iobi, who sat there in an interview on a great podcast, sitting here talking about the likes when Carlo was at Everton. He would just come in, he'd have a bit of presence, but he wouldn't say much. It was his son that done all the talking, it was his son that done all the training, it was his son that done all this. And there is a lot of good stories like that. I mean, if you love stories and if you love this, you're hearing the secret weapon in Real Madrid. The guy's been credited for a lot of victories, a lot of tactical tweaks, changing positions, moving someone out to here and revetting him as a right back. If you want to get into it, there's a hell of a lot of high praise regarding what he's done for Real Madrid over the last couple years. But again, as Rangers fans, we have been scarred by these stories, by these interviews, by the name of obviously Michael Beale, who again got a lot of credit for a lot of stuff from his time at Everton, a lot of praise for his time at Rangers as well before he came here and failed. Again, a lot of us thought Michael Beale was the guy, you know what I mean? Gerrard was just the end that would come in and kick the bits, but it was Michael Beale that was doing everything. That's what we got told, that's what we were made to believe, and then it all came crumbling down, and there will be a lot of people saying, oh my god, we went ahead and got another Beale, we fell for the stories, we fell for all the talking points, and we went ahead and got another Beale. And if you feel that way, again, there's no too much I can say, but what I will say without trying to sound disrespectful, would you rather have the backroom staff that went ahead and won multiple Champions League, or on paper have the backroom staff that won 1 trophy out of 9 and then got sacked for Aston Villa and left QPR when they were quickly on the downscope? That's it. That's all you need to look at, because again, it's not only Davide, he's apparently taken a couple key members from that coaching staff with him if he does come up the road. So again, there's the appeal right there. They've had the experience and know what it takes and know what it is to deal with a team that's required to win week in, week out, and now they're taking the next stage in that evolution. That's pulling on the big job. A lot of people will be screaming, I'm not bothered about taking a number 2, I'm not bothered about the rest, because it worked for Walter Smith, and I like the positivity. Again, I need merit, because I just feel like I've been beat down by the failure that has been this season. The only thing I would say, again, to try and remain balanced, is Walter Smith knew everything there was to be about Scottish football, and again, that some experience in terms of what it takes to be here is slightly different. So it isn't the perfect fit in terms of the perfect gamble, and Walter is, he knew the players, he knew the league inside and out. Davide clearly Disney, but if you're talking about pedigree and if you're talking about what he could bring to our club in terms of that network and the connections and the type of player he could bring in, it's exactly what you want to be if you're a Rangers fan. If you're getting a takeover, if you're getting a fresh start, this is it. This is as fresh as it gets, and this is probably as exciting as it gets, because we had the perfect CV in terms of Phil Clement, did we not? You know what I mean? Multiple league trophies, one here and there, back to back, everything was great, everything was fantastic. Did that work out? No. So maybe this fresh approach, if it does happen, could inject some fresh life into a club that badly needs it. But again, there's good, there's bad, there's pros, there's cons to every single aspect to this, and I imagine it depends on the person that's watching it. You'll feel how you feel. Truthfully, I'm going back and forth, right? I'm convincing myself, oh, it's actually pretty but then I get a wee bit nervous about this aspect, and then I know it's a gamble. But as we've already talked about, ladies and gentlemen, everything is a gamble. There isn't a perfect solution. There's no a perfect manager actually out there. We've went for a manager who's new to this club and who had experience in Scottish football in terms of Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. He couldn't work out the SPFL. Some people will say he was kind of failed in the transfer market. Absolutely, but so was Gerrard over the years. Right, we had the perfect CV, as we've already mentioned, in Clement. That never worked out. So it is all a complete gamble, and I guess managerial appointments are very similar to the players' appointment. Every transfer and every person you bring into a club is a coin flip, that is a risk. Is this one a big one? Absolutely. But again, swing for the fences and put your entire body into it seems to be the approach. And Kevin, who's obviously the new director of football, tried to bring in Davide, if you believe that, in terms of an Everton manager 2023. Is he finally getting him up the road now? Well, there's someone that's new. There's someone that's worked with him before. You can see what we're trying to do right here. So it is very, very interesting to me. And again, it is a gamble. But everything today with a football club is a gamble. We've signed some great players with great CVs that's came up here and crapped the bed and looked terrified. The shot. Meanwhile, we've had players sneak in the back door that ends up going on to be our best players at the club. Everything is a coin flip. All I can hope as a Rangers fan, ladies and gentlemen, is that if it is Mr. Ancelotti, is that this gamble pulls off and he goes ahead to build and installs a winning, successful Rangers team. Because whatever the hell we've been doing the last couple of years hasn't been that. But moving away from maybe the pros and the cons and discussing the major talking points that I can imagine a lot of people want me to cover and talk about today's video, what type of manager is he actually? What type of coach is he? What type of football does he like to play? Is he an arse kicker like Gerrard? Is he the presence like his dad? Well, ladies and gentlemen, what I've been able to find, that he isn't really the arse kicker. He demands respect and he's got a wee bit of that presence, but he's deemed as to be a bit more relaxed in terms of the Carlo mentality rather than the kicking the boots up and doing the place. He just drills in, he installs what he expects to see, and if you do it good, there isn't any problems. If you didn't, you're gone, you're moved out, and someone's given an opportunity. And I think again that for me is an exciting aspect from a Rangers fan. If you didn't perform whilst you wear the shirt, he's given somebody else a chance. That's fine. If he's doing it in terms of the Real Madrid with some of the players they've got and some of the egos and some of the expectations they wear on their shirt, you can come and do it at this football club as well, in my personal opinion. The expectation to win and everything like that certainly translates from there to here, right up the old road. The only thing again that you would see in terms of his formation, does he play a 4-4-2? Does he play a 3-5-2? He is lining up primarily as a 4-3-3 manager. However, there's multiple interviews and multiple sources that if you actually watch his teams play, and apparently he has took the control of some of the Real Madrid games, as it looks like a 4-3-3 on paper, but he constantly tweaks and changes it depending on how the game goes, as he almost has a positionalist aspect to his game, which again does scare me a little bit, as it sounds a little bit erratic and does sound a little bit familiar to some of the stuff we heard previously. But again, he identifies what the weaknesses are on the day, and if it is a left back having a bad game, he'll start going doing that way. He'll move people out there and he'll double up on that. If a young centre-half's in, he'll target them right there. It's a bit old school mentality rather than the structured robotic nature that we've maybe seen. This is our formation, this is our style, this is who we are, this is our story. Appears to be that Davide is not that guy at all. He'll line up what he thinks is his best team to beat the opposition, but if it isn't working, or if something is glaring, if someone's red carded, if someone's on a yellow who's praying, apparently he's a bit ruthless in terms of go and attack that in and get after him again. It sounds pretty exciting. And I think with that being said, that's us probably done covering the type of experience the man's got and what type of manager that he actually is. A fit side that can run all day, that attacks and depending on the opposition will change and tweak how it goes about his business, that's actually praise for the way he sets up his set pieces. It's almost making me a wee bit emotional right here. And again, we are leaving it at there. If he does go ahead to get announced, or if it does start to get a wee bit hotter, if he does pull on the brown brogues, obviously we'll dive a wee bit deeper. But hopefully you're going to leave today's video knowing a wee bit more about this potential Rangers manager, and hopefully you've enjoyed the video enough to be hitting that like button or even subscribing. What I will say, ladies and gentlemen, the reason we are talking about today's video is there's been two major publishers have went ahead and ran this story that apparently knows inside and out of Real Madrid, that apparently have a good hit rate. Now it's been picked up by a sort of agent on Twitter that seemingly has some good things to say and a very good successful hit rate, and now that's what's beginning to spiral. That's been rolling down the hill, and now you're seeing it in every single newspaper regarding Scottish football. They're reporting it is almost certainly about to happen, but again, it's no certainly, it's no completely over the line. When it does get there and he is holding the scarf, we'll go ahead and talk about it right here. But that's why you're hearing about it, and that's why it's all over. The inside scoop from the Real Madrid accounts over in Spain say this one's nearly done and dusted, and if he is coming up the road, it will apparently be after 2 games with Brazil, where he has signed up to help his dad in the transition from there to play 2 games, and his last game would be the 11th of June, which actually fits with the timeline and the scale that we've heard about the takeover from the likes of Dave King, and it does sound very on point in terms of an overall plan to get the manager in then and there. So it'll be interesting what actually happens if we wait that long to announce him, or do we announce him then he comes after 11th of June. Again, he's got that connection with Kevin. It's the new director of football. There is a lot of connections elsewhere with the likes of Big Dunk. Will Big Dunk come up the road to be some part of the coaching staff? It is interesting to open the door and explain Scottish football and explain what this club is. There is a lot of connections. The media look at it, it does make sense. But it's football, anything can happen, it can all come crumbling down, as there is apparently a lot of teams interested in him. Again, from Italy, from Saudi Arabia, and possibly even now Bayer Leverkusen, if you believe that link and believe that rumour. But that's it in terms of the first managerial rumour video. That's about as hot as it's getting right now. Again, it could be a one and done, or we could be talking about a couple other ones the same way we talked about the ones last year. But that's me done and dusted. Hopefully you've enjoyed today's video. I've been Sieging Over 92. Thank you so much for watching. All the best and bye bye.